Well, well, what do we have here? This looks like a stock 1600 Volkswagen motor. We're going to tear into it just a little bit today. Check it out. Back when I was driving the old Karmann Ghia back in the day, this little engine right here was the one that powered me along. And by and large, it ran really well. The engine as a whole, on the whole, ran really well. Never had too many motor problems. The one thing I did have was it was either this rocker or this one used to come off the push rod. I'm pretty sure it was this one. And I kind of want to see, I'm going to go through and lash the valves and see if there was any issues, if there's anything broken, if there's anything out of torque spec that may have caused that problem, and then we'll go through and check all the head bolts and all that kind of stuff just to make sure there's no problem with the case. But my plans here, I want to take the heads off and have them a little valve job done to them and some other things. So I'd prefer not to do a total rebuild. I think there's maybe 30,000 miles on this motor, and if the pistons and cylinders are in good shape, we're going to leave them in place and we're just going to deal with the heads. And then we'll probably do an 09 over here and maybe a couple other little things. VW Darren mentions the Super 1600, and that's my plan for this little guy. And I can't remember, I don't think this is an 09 here. But I might be wrong. I'll have to get into that just a little bit further. But I'll bring you guys along. Before I do anything, I just want to crank it over, take a look at how everything's working. I believe it has good compression all the way around. I'd say that's good. I'm going to probably do it one more time without the camera on. I just sprayed the old head bolts down here with some WD. Yeah! And let them sit for half an hour while I chatted on the phone with Darren. That was pretty sweet. Always like to talk to Darren. I think I've got a breaker bar here somewhere. Talk to Darren on the horn there. And he's always got great advice talking about the racetrack and some other stuff. Yeah. You're on that, buddy. There we go. And that was always good fun. Talked a little bit about the exhaust on the Ghia, the big motor there. And what else did we talk about? We talked about this motor a little bit. And I think the number for the cam that he was saying would be a good match for this car, or this motor, was I think he said C35. And I'm saying that because I didn't get to write it down, and I want to make sure I don't forget it. And then he said a 90 thousandths spacer between the jugs and the head would be a good combination to reduce the compression a little bit, you know, because our gas doesn't have any gas in it, kind of stuff. And then he also said put some inserts in the case, which I didn't realize you could just do that yourself, so that's pretty sweet. So we'll do that. And talked about sending these heads down there as well. So we'll take a peek at them, and I think one way or another we'll send these heads down there. And also have another little project I talked to him about, which you guys will see soon enough on the 59. And if you guys don't know, Darren's a wealth of information for just about any type of car, whether it's American. Yeah, it's just coming right out of the case is what that one's doing. So that'll be fun to deal with. But anyway, he knows a lot about American cars as well as foreign cars, so a great resource for all that stuff. And you mentioned there's a YouTuber there that's doing a Karmann Ghia that was out in the field or something like that. Kind of needed a lot of the same stuff mine did, you know. One of those cut the bottom 6 inches off the whole car kind of jobs. And I think his name's Ken. he watches my channel, he said, and Ken, if I've talked to you, I sure do apologize. I know I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes I know them by YouTube usernames, sometimes I know them, you know, by their real names, and sometimes I just know them by a first name or a last name. But Darren was saying I knew you, which maybe I do. Sometimes too, my recall is really slow, and I apologize about that. There's nothing I can do about it. I wish there was something I could take to make it better, but sometimes it takes me a very long time to remember stuff, and that's why I take so many notes. So anyway, I see now why Darren uses a magnet when he does all of this stuff. It's a lot easier, but I think this stud's coming out as well. So we've got a lot of rust on these, and we'll have to sit here with probably with the torch and get these nuts off, which is okay. I need one of those little swizzle stick deals like Darren has. That would make this job a lot easier. So now we got these four guys down here. So far everything's been pretty tight. So and that may explain too, one of these studs here had a hell of a lot more, let's call it stick out, than the others did, and it was this one right here. So when they went to put it together, that bolt nut might have been frozen, and that would explain that. So I noticed that Darren uses new hardware when he rebuilds a motor, so we'll plan on doing the same thing. We talked about valve springs, putting the same springs that the 1915 has on this motor, and I can't remember what they're called. Not called high rev springs, but you know, high strength, something like that. Talked about putting in a high flow oil pump, high volume oil pump. There we go. Got to get my words right. High volume oil pump, and a couple other little minor things. Some K-drons will probably go on this motor. Probably not the same ones I have on the 1915. We're probably going to leave the mechanicals of the 1915 alone, and I don't really want to disrupt that, you know. I don't want to have to set those carbs up for a different motor. It would require different jetting, I believe, and definitely, you know, just retune the carbs, which that isn't that big of a deal. I'm not scared of that by any stretch, but you know, just to be able to pop that motor in and out without too much fuss would be sweet. It would also be sweet to just have another car to pop that motor into. I don't know if that's in the cards. I'm going to say it's not, but you never know what's going to happen. I actually had some rubber gloves on earlier, but I took them off apparently. And we're going to get a rubber hammer here. Maybe. Commercial break. Oh, that sucks. Oh well. There we go. Don't want to lose my fasteners here if I can help it. Just because I'd like to know, you know, when I'm replacing stuff, that I got the right shit. There we go. We also talked about taking stuff to the machine shop to get it cleaned versus, you know, doing it yourself with the oven cleaner or whatever it is you're going to use. So we'll take a look inside the combustion chambers here. Just give them a peekaboo. Everything looks pretty black. But just right offhand, I don't see any cracking, which is a good sign. I hope you guys can see that. Is that in focus somewhat, maybe? But you know, everything appears to be fairly decent. I'll clean these up. I'll get the other side off. Wowzers. So, been looking at all kinds of information on exhaust systems, and it looks like one way or another we're going to sort of copy or get a hold of a Sidewinder exhaust. A1 makes a Sidewinder for the 1915, and everything I've read, you know, there goes that stud, it's coming loose. Everything I've read says you know, the 1 5/8 is good for about 2100 cc's and below, and we've got sort of a quandary, you know, do we have a 2100 or do we have a something else? So one of the things I was going to do here today, and I shouldn't have taken this bolt loose, but we can tighten it back up and we'll be just fine, was stick a caliper down in there and see if we can actually measure the, yeah, this is going to be fun. Wow. Well, see if we can actually measure the, oh, come on, man. The bore and the stroke. There we go. See if we can measure the stroke through a spark plug hole. So let's see if we can do that. I don't know if we can or not. We'll go ahead and turn this to millimeters. That says 89.49, and then I think if we go, well, maybe either direction, it'll spit it back out at us, and hopefully we can get another reading on the short end. There we go. So 89.49, and then, well, that's great, sweet, right there. 2104, 2108, something like that. So 89 and 21 would be a 68 millimeter. So apparently we should be able to 68, 69, something like that, millimeter. So, and that may have changed things the other way. Yeah, there it is. So we should be able to find out on our other engine whether or not we do have a 69 or 78. That says 25 there. Yeah, well, all right. So we should be able to repeat this on that other one. That's the point. And get us pretty close. That'll at least get us within a few millimeters of what we got, and that'll be cool. So we'll solve that problem. You know, do we have a 2 liter? Do we not have a 2 liter? And I'll sleep a lot better at night knowing that. So here's the driver's side head. And again, the oil is not from inside the cylinder head there. The oil is from me, and the drippage is there, so don't be worried about that. But again, I took a real close look. I don't see, you know, if there are any cracks. They're not major cracks, or they at least aren't visible. I apologize for not bringing you guys along as I do this. My camera just took a header for about the 3rd time today, so I think we're sort of done with the tripod. So yeah, the screen on my camera is good and cracked in about 6 places, and that didn't happen today. It's just happened over time, but it just can't take those impacts. It's sort of like getting a concussion, you know. You can only do it so many times before they send you off to the farm. And yeah, so I mean these appear to be in fairly decent shape. So yeah, trying to hold the flashlight and the camera all at the same time. I just kind of squirted these down with a little WD-40. That might have been a bad idea, but you know, I don't know exactly what to look for here. Jesus, there we go. You know, there's no, other than it just having a little, let's call it scale, there's no lip there. It's real smooth where the used part of the cylinder meets the non-used part of the cylinder. Again, let me grab a paper towel and we'll see if we can dry that out. There's a look at it dried out. It just all looks smooth. Not sure if I should be seeing some cross hatching maybe, but if I am, I don't see any cross hatching. I don't know if we can, if I'm capable of holding a flashlight, a camera, and a wrench to turn this thing over, but we will give it the college try here. Hang on. Let's see. But we should be bottomed out right there. So here's the next one over, and it's sort of in the same type of condition there. Again, don't know, good, bad, or indifferent. I know I have to pop these jugs off to get a look at the rings, but we might be in good shape on these, we might not. I'll hopefully count on the experts out there to give me an indication of what I need to look for in terms of damage. I can always take them to the local VW shop. We are over on the passenger side now. So I believe this is cylinders 1 and 2. So this would be cylinder number 2 that we're looking at now. It looks to be in similar shape. Maybe a little bit more of a discernible, I don't know if I want to call it a ridge. It's just, you know, just bumpy. I mean, even right there, you can see a spot. Can you see it where it's real clean right there? So, you know, something tells me you run a hone through those, it'll be nice. But let's flip it over here and look at this one. Stand by. That feels like it's way harder than it should be. Hang on. Okay, there is cylinder number 1, and hang on. Here we go. I'll wipe it out just a little bit, get all the oil that I put in there off. Again, I was just nervous about running it kind of dry, cycling it over, and that's probably being way too anal, but you know, that's how I am some days. But this one has the same nice clean spot here. That's probably where oil leaks out of the bottom of the cylinder. But I'm seeing good contact on the rings, the part that I see, so that's kind of cool. So anyway, we'll pop these cylinders off, see what we got. So just carefully, kind of methodically, Greg Porter style, we're going to disassemble these guys. Just take a look, and again, you know, just kind of looking inside of there. I see cross hatching back here. I see no cross hatching. Yeah, I think you guys can see where that difference is, and maybe that's something you can do with a hone. You know, just run the hone through there a few times. Let's see if we got a ridge in there at all. That may tell us more than anything. Let's just see if we can, yeah. No, no discernible, well, hang on, I'm saying that. Down here at the bottom there isn't. But no, it's not like there's a big ridge or anything. There's my thumbnail. You can just hear the texture difference, I think. But let's see, there's a little silicone maybe. I don't know what that is. That looks like silicone, yep. So we'll put that down there with the silicone. And you know, the inside of this looks red. I don't know if that's a piece of paper or not. I don't think it is. It doesn't feel like it. So it looks like they just silicone those in, which I understand is the right way to do them. So yep, there's a little spookus there. Actually, the silicone I don't know is the right way, but not putting the paper there if I remember right. I think Darren said many times just throw the paper away. So well, maybe not. Hang on. We're doing a little more investigation here, guys. There we go. Okay, yeah. I don't think we have paper on there, but we'll find out. We'll wash all of this stuff up for sure. But let's take a look at the rings. You know, we'll see how they did all the where they were spaced. So there's one over there, and there's one right there, and the other one is over here. Where you at, dude? Just right there. Not quite to the wrist pin there, but almost. Alright, we are down to sort of the short hairs here, and just wanted to share a couple numbers with everybody. This is indeed an AS41, which from what I understand is a fairly sought after case, and yeah, there's the number up there, AH, and then it goes on and on and on. Not sure if this is the original motor from the car or not. I think it is, but I'm not going to swear to that. But I did notice this particular stud has no nut on it, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but I'm going to go with bad, because every other stud I see has a nut on it. But we're going to see if that lines up with anything. I've never torn one of these apart, so you know, a lot of this is me learning and you guys learning with me. Can you tell I eat a lot of cottage cheese, man? That's what all my storage containers are. So yeah, we'll just set that right there and get to work here. These are give me a second, I think 13 millimeter. Yep, 13 millimeter. I don't remember how many of these there are, but there's a few. So yeah, you know, kind of weird taking a perfectly good engine apart, but you know, if you're going to freshen it up, might as well see what's inside of it. Hell, I'll be honest, the curiosity's sort of killing me. I've always wanted to open one of these motors up, and I was going to rebuild this one for the project car, and just you know, one thing leads to another, and Darren offered, you know, the use of his help to build the 1915, and you can't turn something like that down, you know. And you got a guy with that level of experience and expertise, you just sort of stand back and watch and learn, you know, take lots of notes, and try and repeat what he does at some point later in your life. So that motor's just been running awesome. I had it out today just a little bit, and just never stopped being impressed with the way that thing's running. It's still running hot, but you know, it has nothing to do with the way it was built. It just needs a better cooling system, you know. There's a paper gasket right there. But you know, you start futzing around with an air-cooled engine, and yeah, you gotta be careful changing the air-cooled properties there. They aren't really built to take all that extra horsepower without upgrading the cooling system. So that's what we're going to do next on that engine. You know, improve the exhaust and improve the cooling. We're going to go over this motor now that we have it split apart, and I'll kind of tell you what I've seen. The rotating assembly has got a stiff spot. You can hear it as it goes around right in there. And I keep looking for, you know, something dragging or something like that. I don't see anything dragging. Maybe it's this rear thing. I don't know, but I don't see anything dragging. But it's got just one spot that isn't like super smooth, but you know, that rolls pretty well until I smack the case with it. So this bearing here, Let's just pop it up. Hang on, I'm going to put you back down. Sorry, guys. I hope you guys can see that. I don't know if that hole is supposed to be a little bit tapered, but I don't know. It doesn't look horrible, but it doesn't look awesome. You know, this journal looks like it has a little bit of scarring on it, maybe. Nothing bad. I mean, you can't feel anything there. This bearing back here from the outside looks really good. Everything's real tight. These guys, on the other hand, the cam journal here, I'm calling that the journal. I think that's the right term. These guys all look pretty, I'm going to call it scarred. You know, you can just see striations in them. Nothing horrible. I don't know how to tell if a cam is wiped out. I mean, the lobes look decent. I don't know if you guys can see that in the camera, but you know, we can sort of rotate this over maybe. Anyhow, you know, you kind of get a good look at the lobes of the cam there. I mean, they look pretty good. So let's continue on. This guy up here, I'm hoping it's supposed to be loose, because it sure as heck ain't tight. I think that's the slinger. I think that's the word for that. So anyway, there's the gear for the pump there, I think. And anyway, so we'll take a look at the lifters here. I think we can do this without the flashlight, but hang on, I'm going to restart the camera. Here we go. Look at the lifters here. To me, they all look pretty good, but I don't know what that means. They all have just a little bit of a dish to them. Maybe that means they're worn. I don't know. Just a hint. Some of them don't. I mean, that one looks almost pan flat. But some of them have a little dish to them. I'm guessing that's the wear on them. What was the other thing I wanted to show you? Oh yeah, hang on. Other side of the case. Now, this one did have a couple little surprises. We're looking at one right there. Can you guys see that? God, there it is. Little hole in the bearing. So it's worn clean through. You can see all the copper or whatever there. So I'm pretty sure that that bearing right there is shot, which is okay. You know, we're going to replace all the bearings. And it looks like somebody got into this damn thing with something. I don't know what that is, but I don't really like it. But nothing looks beat up as far as like bearing wear. It doesn't look like it moved at all. It looks real clean, as far as, you know, my eyes can tell. You know, I'm thinking some asshole split this case with a, I don't know, with a jackhammer at one point. I found, I don't know what it was, a bunch of silicone in here and some other stuff that I didn't really care much for. Cam bearing here. These all look, what I thought looked pretty good. They weren't wearing through. They didn't have any like bright silver marks on them or anything. So, but we'll probably replace those as well. So just kind of replace what we can replace. And yeah, call it good. So, not exactly sure how I need to order all the parts. The other interesting thing that I found, and maybe this is standard, I don't know. Hang on. Here. I may have to clean this up before I can figure out what's going on. But the studs here, these two had 19mm bolts on them. Sorry, 19mm nuts. These four had 17s. Yeah, there you go. So, maybe that's it. You can see the little red guy on there. That's because it's, you know, that kind. And the other nuts aren't that kind. And from what I understand, when you assemble this thing, you put the red up, not toward the case. But they used two red ones and two non-red ones. So the red ones are the 19s and the other ones are the 17s. There were no washers under those. And all the washers on the case were flat washers, not wavy washers. So I didn't like that so much, but we'll get it all sorted out. And I maybe should have taken that flywheel off before I did any of this. I'm not sure exactly the order of operations there, but seemed to all come apart just fine. That is it for the 1600 disassembly for today. Don't let your meat go.